Hi, I'm Chris, an architect based in the UK, and today I'll be showing you how to draw a section faster than you would with AutoCAD. We'll cover both the fundamentals like choosing the right section cut and practical tips like line weights, material representation, annotations and more. I'll be using Rayon Design, a free browser-based tool for 2D architectural drawings. With its wall tool, style presets and massive block library with side views, it helps me work twice as fast. If you want to follow along, just create a free account and open the template linked below. So let's dive in. Sections and elevations are 2D architectural drawings that reveal a building's vertical aspect, either by slicing through it with a section or showing it from the outside, an elevation. They're essential for communicating spatial relationships, materials and structures, and they're required in almost every drawing set, whether you're working on a renovation or a new build. Okay, so you can currently see that we're in a Rayon model where I've drawn my floor plan, but if you're working with another tool, you can always import a DWG, a PDF, or an image of your drawing directly into Rayon that you can trace over. It's time to create a few sections, and for that I'm going to start organizing the file. I'll make a new layer, call it sections, and then inside it I'll put a nested layer. So I'll create another layer, call it guidelines this time, drag it down, hover over and then into section, so you can see there that it's nested inside. That will make it much easier for me to lock and hide reference lines as I go. With that all set up, now it's time to decide where to cut through in our floor plan. You want to convey as much information as possible, so I want you to look for a section that will convey multiple rooms and cut through doors and windows. You want to make the most of explaining the interior relationship between spaces. So in this case, we're going to create a section here for this apartment on this side, cutting along this area here. So this shows the entrance, the kitchen, the living space, the bathroom space, and then the external terrace. To indicate that properly, let's start by grabbing a section symbol from the Rayon block library. So we'll go over to library, we'll scroll down to title blocks and annotations, and you can see there's section line. So we can drag that in, scale it up so it's visible, and I'll just duplicate that, copy and paste. I will mirror it. So we've got two tails of the section line, and then I'll mirror it the other way because we're looking down how we currently are. So let's just drag this over to one end of our line, rotate, do the same on the other one. And then we could change the line style into a dash. There we go. So that's our section line set up. You can obviously duplicate that and put however many sections you want across the floor plan. Alongside the section lines, there are a huge array of different types of annotations, scale bars, elevation marks, north symbols, and it's not just annotations. There's, so much array of different furniture types. So bathrooms, even people and animals, doors, windows, everything you would want, not only plans, but also sections and elevations, which we'll come on to use later, all within the Rayon block library. Next, I'll use a view to duplicate the floor plan and rotate it. So where I'm cutting my section, I'm going to be looking up into that space. It'll enable me to crop it and help me build a grid for my drawing and my section. So we're going to go to layers, and then where the plus sign is, so where you would normally add a new layer, we can go from view and model canvas, and that will create this new duplicated window showing our floor plan. So the point to remember that this isn't the actual drawing, this is looking at that drawing. So you can't actually edit the drawing itself in this view, but you can turn on and off layers and change line styles. So I can drag this out. What I can do is rotate this. So now I'm looking up into my section. So this is, you can see my section cut lines, that's the way I'm looking. And when I draw my lines to project my section, I know I'm exactly looking in the right place. Okay, with that now rotated, I want to now change the aspect ratio of my view clipping plane. So I've double clicked on it and I can now just drag my points out. So the frame that I'm basically viewing the plan from, remember I'm not touching the plan, I'm just looking at it through a different way. I can reorientate that so I remove any kind of unnecessary information when I'm drawing my section. So I can just drag out to there, maybe bring this up a little. And now I'm parallel to my section line, and all my lines that will be projecting up are coming perpendicular to that. And then my original drawing is still here. I haven't changed it, it's still in the same orientation. I'm just looking at it through a different lens. Okay, so we've rotated our view, we've aligned it with the section line and cropped it down. So now we're going to draw our grid lines. This will help us create the section above. So I'm going to go to line, and I'm just going to draw one line as an example, cutting through this door. So I can go in there, I can edit the style, solid line instead. And then I just copy across each of these. So if I go to the copy tool, I can just copy these lines across when I cut through things. So you can see here that there's only a few elements that I'm actually cutting through, the others I'm looking at. So I might want to have a different style of line so I can understand what I'm looking at rather than what I'm cutting through. So we can detach that style, we can create a new one and call that maybe elevation. And I could do that in a different color. So now every element that I'm looking at rather than cutting through has a line to project up. And then the windows for the elements that I'm looking at. So you can see there, that's our sort of grid line area set up. The whole reason we do this is to help anchor those elements. So when I start to draw floor, ceiling heights, furniture and structure, it gives me a guide. Now it's time to use the wall tool. One of the reasons that drawing a section with Rayon is so much faster. It's incredibly responsive. You just draw and it automatically applies wall thickness and fill, which you can edit later from the style panel. This is already faster than drawing and offsetting lines in AutoCAD, especially when you need to make changes. Okay, with our guidelines set up, we can start using the wall tool. So we'll select a wall tool down here, and just to start, I'm going to draw a floor. So the floor here, I can change the thickness to say 250 mil. I can have that in maybe a hatch. So I'll call it an oblique hatch. I can change the scale of that, maybe 0.25, go from there. And then I can save that style, and I'm going to call that section dash floor. And then when I draw my next wall or floor, that will retain that exact same style. So that is drawn as a floor. Then, for example, I want to draw a wall. I can draw here, and the reality is that this wall as drawn in the section through my section cut is 397 millimeters. So I can create a new style, make that 397, save style, or section dash wall. The other thing I wanted to show you is that we can then use these walls for the elevation walls as well. So if we're not cutting through it, if it's an elevation, I want to get rid of the hatch. So I can detach that style, make that wall, how thick is this one? 70 mil. So we can change that to 70. We can give that a solid white fill because we're in elevation. And we can call that elevation dash wall. So if I came back to the drawing later and actually decided that the hatch style wasn't right for me, I wanted a solid color, so I can just go into these styles, edit the style. You can see them all down on this side as well. So there's a style bar here. So we'll scroll down to walls. So you can see walls there, and you can see our wall styles here. So for example, I can edit them all here and actually say, I don't want that as a hatch, I want that as a solid color. Same thing with the floor. And then I can change them all. So obviously if you're doing, informative drawings or illustrative drawings, being able to change that style very easily is perfect. With the basic section set up, now let's start to drop in some elements from the block library. Rayon's got over 4,000 different types of blocks, and they all allow for front, top and side views, which means that I don't have to search for any of the sort of matching symbols or convert anything manually like I would have to with AutoCAD. I can just drag and drop them in and know that they correspond with the element that I've placed on the floor. This is particularly helpful when I'm drawing those sections and elevations. Okay, with that in mind, we'll get started adding blocks. So we go to the block tab, we go to libraries, and I want to start adding a door in for the entrance to our apartment. So we go down to openings, and we'll find a standard door, which is here, for example, and you can see this purple family tab. So if you click on that, it includes not only the plan, the section, but also the elevation. So we can drag this in and we can place that neatly in our door position. So now we've got a door in section. Similarly with something like the kitchen cabinetry, so we can see the kitchen units down here, and in our section line, which is here, we can see them in elevation. So I can find them in the library again. I can go down to kitchen. Okay, so we'll find our casework for our kitchen. We'll click on the purple one. We'll drag in the unit with the door, and then we can place that here, go to our copy tool, and then copy that across. Center that within the space. There we have it, and that corresponds with the kitchen below. Just for clarity, we can then come out of the block area and then go to layers, and we can turn off our guidelines, and then you can start to see the beginnings of a section. One last thing I just want to show you is that I could add people, for example. So if we wanted to animate the space, make our viewers understand it a little bit better, have a bit of a better understanding of scale, we can go to people, which will live in the block library as well. We'll find someone just standing up over here. So again, that's in plan view, but we can find a side view and a front view. So we can drag in the side view. There we go, perfect. And maybe we'll mirror her walking away from the door. And again, that automatically brings the drawing to life and gives you a sense of scale for the space. All within the block library, all very simply, just drag and drop in those. And I can also put a person into the plan drawing, for example, that corresponds in exactly the same place with those other views based on that model. You are also able to edit the blocks. So we can go into this kitchen cabinet block, for example, and say for my presentation drawings, I don't want to see the legs of the kitchen cabinet. So I can just double click on that, find the element I want to get rid of, and you will see any block that is a representation of that same block, it affects all of them. So that deletes in all of them. Similarly, I want to change the line style of the swing of the door. I wanted that in red, for example. If I do it to 1, I can do it to all. And that's perfect because, again, that gives me that flexibility later on when I'm changing styles in the drawing, that it affects any view related to that. The other thing you can do is import your own blocks. So you can import a DWG, create your own block from there, and then you can curate those blocks into your own model or use them within team libraries so you can repeat them for other projects. Okay, so I've just spent a little bit of time refining the drawing down, adding all the elevation elements, the section elements, the furniture, just to, make it appropriate for what I'm trying to illustrate. So now I'm going to add some dimensions, some annotations, things like finished floor heights, ceiling heights, and anything that's really going to help communicate what I want it to do as a drawing. So we'll start over here by finding a floor level annotations. So we'll go to our block library again, we'll go to title blocks and annotations, and then we will find a height marker. Here we go. So we'll drag that in, and we'll increase the size of it, and then we can position that where we want to. So we go to the move tool, this will snap it to our floor level, and then we can go into there and change the number to plus 22.5, something like that. We can then add dimensions. So say we wanted to dimension this kitchen cabinetry, we can click on our dimension tool here, we can select what we want, drag that out. So obviously that's coming in very large, so we can then go in and edit the style. So we can change the size of the font, we can change the color if we wanted to, we can change the stroke. Say I don't like the end points and I wanted them as little arrows, and we can make the stroke red if we like, maybe a little bit thicker, and then we could save that as a style and call that section dim, for example. And then when we draw our next dimensions, that style will match. The other thing with dimensions, which is helpful, is if you wanted to draw them as a chain, you can select the chain element, and then that just keeps drawing them. So there we have some dimensions, and also we can add some annotations. So that's in the leader tool, which is down here. So we click on what we want, click out, and then call it kitchen cabinet washing machine behind, for example. And again, we can go into our style, we could change that to red, for example, the same thing with the line. We could change our arrowhead, so we have some level of consistency between our dimensions, and say actually we want the text to be a little bit larger. So when we go to do another annotation, for example, the high level cabinets, so we could say high level kitchen cabinets, and then because we've set that up as a style, we can use the pick a style thing, click on that, and then it becomes consistent with the style again. And again, those styles live within that library and can be used throughout the project. Now that our section is ready, we can add a sheet referencing it in our architecture drawing set. Section drawings are usually placed towards the end of the drawing set at a scale of around 1:50. So let's use Rayon's canvases, pages, and views to set up a new sheet. Okay, so you can see the refined section here, and we're currently in the model canvas. So you can see just up on here, above layers, there is paper canvases as well. So this is where we'll be drawing our presentation and our sheet. So we'll click on paper canvases, and you're left with the warning, your paper canvas does not contain any pages. So we'll create a page, here it is, and it will set as an A4. We want that as an A3, and we're at a scale of 1:1. So this is our paper space, similar to AutoCAD. With that paper space at 1:1, we're going to be viewing our model file at a scale. So when we bring that section view in, we will scale that at 1:50. The good thing about viewing our paper space at real scale is that it obviously represents what we're going to be looking at when we export or print our documents. Okay, so now we can add a view. So we'll go over to the Layers tab and click on the plus. We go down to View, and we want to create a new view from the model canvas. So click on that, and here it pops up. We want to set that scale at whatever we want. We want it at 1:50. And then if we hold down Command whilst dragging, we can change the crop region of the model space, so we only focus on our section drawing. This edits those borders down, and then I can click on it and then move it to my paper space. So it's a 1:1 A3 page with a 1:50 view of that section. We can then go into the block library. So Rayon's block library has a number of title blocks. So we can go down to title blocks. The other thing it has is a search feature. So this is what I find particularly helpful. So if we just search for A3, we have a number of A3 title blocks. We can pick whatever we like, drag it in, and align it with our A3 sheet. So we can move our view about. Obviously we can edit all the information on the block as well, so we can add our own logo in, add information about the project, and even keep a track of when drawings are issued. Another thing we can do is add in another view. So obviously when you're looking at a section, a really key thing is to understand where it's being cut from. So the next thing I'll do is go back to layers, add a view, model canvas again, and again we're looking at that drawing. Now if we double click, we can zoom inside and we can find our original floor plan. Now I want to clean up this, so we can turn off maybe some of the annotations, the hatches, and let's say we want that at 1 to 200, say. So again, if we hold Command, we can bring in our cropping boundary, and then we can arrange that on the page. So with that as a key plan, we can then look for a section line. So again, we can drag that in, copy, and then mirror, and then we'll mirror that vertically, rotate onto our drawing. So then when I'm looking at this drawing set, I can see my section and I can have a small key plan that tells me exactly where it's being cut and the way that I'm looking, which is incredibly helpful. Okay, with the sheet finalized, we can now export it. So I'll just change the sheet name to section 1. And then in the little burger bar, the 3 lines, we can go to export, and then we can export the sheet as a number of formats. So you can see here, if we want to export it as a PDF, for example, we can go to section 1, paper canvas. We can call it section 1, decide on the file size, the format, press export, choose a location for it, and then off it goes. Alternatively, you can share it as a presentation. So you can go up to the top right hand side where it says share, and this is where you would gain or provide access to other people to the project, but you can also share it as a presentation. So if you update here, it will give you a link, and then that will take you to your presentation. And here it is, which is obviously really helpful if you've got a client that you want to send it to. And here you have it as part of a full drawing set. So we've got our plans, our elevations, our plan of our apartment that we were looking at with the section line referenced. We then have our section with our key plan. And obviously you can use the same tools to create far more detailed sections, details with dimensions, joinery information. The world's your oyster, and all this far quicker than they would be in AutoCAD. And that's it. That's how I draw a detailed and sleek section in Rayon, twice as fast as I would in AutoCAD with fewer manual edits. If you want to try this exact setup, open the template in the link below. It's fully editable and free to use. Thanks for watching. If you found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more speed boosting tutorials just like this one.